Welcome on to the next edition of Run with Coach Parry. I'm Brad. We've got the coach with us, Lindsay Parry, once again, and a great nutrition question today, particularly around energy gels. Lindsay, great to catch up once again. How's it going?
Excellent, Brad. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic. Great question in the forums on the Coach Parry Training Club, and it came in from Warren G. And Warren said, "Hi coaches, please help. I've been using Goo energy gels for a long time, but always struggled with nausea and being very sick. So I thought I would try something new. I moved to the 32 GI Endure tablets, taking 1 an hour, focusing on less carbs in my diet. The challenge is I've now done 2 marathons and my legs absolutely shut down at 32 kilometers in both those marathons, forcing me to slow walk the last 6. The second one, I tried adding crampies as well, but this really has not been positive at all. Do you have any fueling advice? What should I eat before and during my next marathon?"
So yeah, Warren, it's quite a long answer, this one, and you've really got 2 paths that you can try from this point where you find yourself. If you want to go the low carb route for marathon and ultra marathon running, it's possible, but then you've really got to fully fat adapt and go basically ketogenic. So that means having a very low carb diet, and it means on race day fueling yourself on products that are non-carb based, things like MCT oils, macadamia nuts. You'll have to do a little bit of reading there too, but that's the one route. If you're going to fully adapt and fat adapt, then you've got to commit to it, and it's hard, and you're going to be working at it, and it's going to take a good few weeks of adaptation. But once you go ketogenic, then you'll be able to go for very long periods of time on very small amounts of much more complex carbohydrates. Your 32 GIs tablets might be okay, but you're also going to supplement with lots of non-carbohydrate sources during the run. The other alternative is you can carry on with your lowish carbohydrate diet, but then you have to understand that you are always going to be running a little bit low on muscle glycogen unless you make some small tweaks. And those tweaks are around when do we fuel, okay? We either need to fuel for exercise or we need to fuel inside exercise. But the one place you have to fuel is immediately after exercise, particularly if you're going to be on a low carb diet, because that probably means you're not going to be taking in much carbohydrates outside of that very crucial 30-minute window. So I obviously prefer the option I'm talking about now, but I always feel it's important to give both sides of the coin. So for me, you can carry on being low carb, but what it does mean is that every time you are planning very high intensity exercise or exercise that's lasting longer than 90 minutes, you need to fuel during exercise. So that means you need to start carrying the kind of products that you're going to be using on the side of the road so that you can get used to them. And the second and probably more important point is that you need to refuel. So you need to take in a high carbohydrate product 15 to 30 minutes after exercise. And I would say you're aiming for around about 750 mils of that within 15 to 30 minutes. During exercise, we need to help you find products that don't make you feel nauseous. Now, obviously, the 32 GI tabs are working from that perspective. So they're not upsetting your gut and you're not getting nausea, but you are not taking in enough. So I'll take you back to my point of saying you either need to fuel for exercise or in exercise. Obviously, once exercise starts to go for a certain period of time, we will have to do some fueling in that exercise. But for you, I would look at figuring out a strategy and of what you can tolerate before. And you want to be taking in some kind of high carb food before. So that might be toast with honey and slices of banana would be an example. It might be oats with honey or syrup or sugar with nuts and fruit. That might work for you, but you're looking for a high carbohydrate, nutrient dense meal taken 30 to 2 hours before that event. And you'll have to figure out what timing works best for you. Then in the race, I would look at increasing. So you've been taking 1 tablet an hour, and you probably need 2 or 3 tablets an hour. So perhaps a tablet at each water point would be a good place to start. But essentially, you're going to keep shutting down at that point unless you figure out a way to fuel your muscles. And that's either going to be the very difficult, but in some instances extremely successful keto way, or we know that carbohydrates are a much easier fuel. Body uses it much faster, but you've got to find forms that you can take it in. Now, you said goos make you feel sick, but you haven't really spoken about Coke and Energade or Powerade and those sort of products that we tend to find on the side of the road. So if having too many gels is a bit much for you, then you can look at taking in or supplementing the 32 GI tablets with some Coke or with some Powerade, so almost alternating water stations. But that's how you can increase slightly, and that'll hopefully get you to the finish line. Remember, when you go further, you might not necessarily need to fuel more because your intensity is going to drop. And that's another thing people don't often take into account, is that they want to fuel the same in a comrades, for example, as they want to fuel in a marathon, but the intensity's dropped. And so that's another reason why you might get nauseous, because you end up taking in too much. So between the marathon and the ultra, you don't really, you can actually probably afford to drop it slightly in terms of frequency, but you're going to continue it for a much longer period of time.
Warren, great question, and best of luck on your quest to sort out your nutrition concerns. Don't forget as well, if you'd like to win access to that Coach Parry online training club, we've got 3 months up for grabs, all the compliments of Biogen. All you need to do is let us know what your Biogen journey is. Tell us what you're training for, what you need help with, and use that hashtag Biogen journey. We'll pick it up on the social medias, and we could be making you a winner. We announce those winners every single week on our audio podcast, so make sure you check that out. And also have a look at the Coach Parry Online Training Club. If you need help with your nutrition or with your training, we've got you covered. All our training programs are accessible through there. As well on our mobile or our iOS and Android mobile app, so you can get all the access there as well. It's literally like having a coach in your pocket. And to find out more about that, just head over to coachparry.com/join. Lindsay, as always, great to catch up. Thanks for your time today.
Till next week.